Afternoon. It's not my normal practice to make any kind of a statement to the media regarding my cases and my clients, but at this point my practice has been disturbed by all the attention this case has gotten. I'm Julia Graves and I'm Kaitlyn Hunt's attorney, so we made a decision to make a statement here this afternoon just to try to clear the air a little bit. I've written some things down, so I'm going to read it so that I'm very clear about what we're saying here today. I met Kaitlyn the day she was arrested at the Indian River County Sheriff's Department in the booking department. So I've been here since basically hour one. But she's a very intelligent young woman who, until this ordeal, had a promising future. It was awaiting her. This was supposed to be one of the best times of her life as she graduated from high school in her senior year, where she's an honor student, and she moves on to adulthood. We've all heard the graduation announcements, we've all heard the speeches, and that just hasn't happened for her this year. Adulthood has come way too soon for her, and she now finds herself facing second-degree felony charges that put that future in jeopardy. While not commenting on the charges specifically, or our strategies, or where we are at this point on the specifics as the case is ongoing, we do have a team of lawyers, both local colleagues of mine and also other attorneys throughout the nation, who have offered us their help to see what can be done about this case. We've been working with Change.org, Equality Florida, and the ACLU, and they're all attempting to help us on Kaitlyn's behalf. This case is complex and it's sensitive in nature, and the process has deeply affected the lives of both of these two young women. It's my hope that Kaitlyn will be able to move forward with her life, and an important dialogue begins in this nation about adolescent relationships and the age of consent, regardless of sexual orientation. The State Attorney's Office, the Sheriff's Department, and the parents of the other girl involved are prosecuting her under a law intended to protect children from being preyed on by adults. And although 18 is an adult, we all know that truly seniors in high school are not adults. As the attorney for Kaitlyn, although there are different statements out there in the media, we have never, ever requested that the charges be completely dropped. We have suggested since the day of her arrest that we're willing to enter a plea to a misdemeanor charge with appropriate punishment that will allow everyone to move on and not dwell on this for their entire lives. Kaitlyn and her parents have been given until Friday to decide whether to go to trial and have the most intimate details of the relationship played out in public, or to take a plea agreement that includes forever having a record, even if adjudication is withheld. The charges that they've given her of the lesser to be included to are exceptions to the sealing statute. In addition, with the sex offender conditions, Kaitlyn will be subjected to sitting in group counseling meetings with legitimately convicted sex offenders that the law was truly meant for. It's our position that this is a misapplication of the law that will destroy the lives of two high school teenagers while doing nothing to truly serve justice. With the deadline coming up, at this time we hold out hope that common sense will prevail and the damage that's already been done will be mitigated by halting any felony prosecution. We are concerned for the emotional welfare of both of these teenagers under the stress of these avoidable circumstances. Unfortunately, the intimate details are a public record, and this is a humiliation few of us could have endured in our high school years. Kaitlyn is being prosecuted for engaging in behavior that is both fairly innocuous and extremely common. Such behavior occurs every day in tens of thousands of high schools across the country, yet those students are not facing felony convictions. And in Florida, the lifetime consequences of a felony conviction and potential lifelong branding as sex offenders. This is a life sentence for behavior by teenagers that is all too common, whether they are male or female, gay or straight. High school relationships may be fleeting, but felony convictions are forever. When we put this behind us, we will continue to work and reach out to lawmakers with the assistance of Equality Florida, the ACLU, and many others to address the failings of the law that criminalizes high school students and is too often used by parents who object to the race, ethnicity, or gender of the schoolmate their teenager is dating. Other states like Georgia have changed this to either a misdemeanor or no crime at all on a first offense of just counseling in a class in Wisconsin. We need to be more progressive here in the state of Florida. While effective laws are certainly needed to protect Florida's children from sexual predators, one cannot seriously maintain that Kaitlyn's behavior was predatory. Application of this law to Kaitlyn's conduct is an example of the troubling trend in Florida and across the country of criminalizing teenagers. The school-to-prison pipeline is filled with students whose behavior is better addressed by school officials and parents not the criminal justice system. We do not need to turn teenagers into convicted felons who are prevented from then later contributing meaningfully to society because of unjust convictions. Even if Kaitlyn is able to avoid the sex offender registration, a felony like this, one being offered of child abuse, will harm her for the rest of her life, damaging her employment prospects and even her right to participate in the community as a citizen, and possibly her right to vote. We're just thanking everyone for all the support that they've given to Kaitlyn, and she's not going to be making any statements to the media at this time until we know if she's taking the plea or the case is over. So I appreciate everyone. Thank you.
Can you talk to us a little bit about the Romeo and Juliet law and how this could have potentially helped her if it wasn't geared, it's not geared towards homosexual relationships?
Come closer to the microphone, please.
Thank you.
The Romeo and Juliet law is applied as far as the sentencing goes only. It's not something that can get her out of the case. It is applied where there's a certain number of years between the parties, and it does fit this situation. But we have to be able to prove, and everyone has to be able to agree, and the judge has to decide that the behavior was consensual and there was no coercement, persuasion, or things that were done that were not voluntary. So,
but it is truly the law is written for a guy and a girl, right?
Romeo and Juliet, yes.
So it's difficult for your case.
We'd still be able to use it if she was convicted under that statute. We would still be asking for that to apply to the sentencing.
When you first got this case, what was your personal feeling about it? Because you've been a lawyer, I'm sure you've seen lots of cases, but this case is unique. Can you talk a little bit about that?
This case is unique because I've had other cases with the same general type of circumstances, and we've been able to work through them and get a misdemeanor and work for the best interest of everyone involved. But it hasn't worked that way in this case, even though we've been trying from the day I found out who was assigned to the case. 4 days later, we started the communication, see if this case could be handled differently, if we could work something out, and that hasn't worked.
Does Kaitlyn have anything to say? I think there's a lot of people out there who would like to hear from her if she has anything to say.
She's appreciative of the support of her parents, and she's not going to say anything in regards to the details of the case.
Did she want to make any statement even without the details of the case? I mean, obviously you've been going through a lot.
It's okay, could you make a statement about your case?
A little bit closer to the mic, please. Thank you.
Kaitlyn's talking.
She's better not making a statement, but thank you. It's a really tough time for her, and I don't think this is something she asked for, to have this much media attention, but when it came to the point where she's still facing felonies, I think her parents had no choice but to try to move forward with something to try to make a difference and try to make a change, because this is their child and this is her future, and that's why all of you all are here today.
When you talk about her future, I'm curious, is it a very difficult decision to make here, because what potentially could happen is something that would linger in her life for a very long time, depending on the outcome?
With the current plea offer to felony child abuse, which is a third-degree felony, which carries a 5-year sentence for each count, if she, for some reason, violated her community control, she could face prison time. But also, the child abuse is one of the exceptions to the Florida sealing statute, so it would always be on her record. Any time anyone ever did any kind of a background check or looked her up, you're going to find that she was charged and pled to felony child abuse. Whether there's a withhold of adjudication or not, it doesn't matter.
And so how does that figure into this decision-making process that you're in the middle of? I mean,
well, Kaitlyn would like to go into the nursing field, and I don't think that anybody's going to hire someone who has a child abuse felony, whether they're adjudicated or not, and it will be there forever. There's no way to get rid of it under the current plea offer.
And so is that pressure to take, I mean, what is that?
That's pressure to maybe take our chances and go to trial, and that's a decision that we're going to be making in the next 2 days.
And my other question, and you may have already answered this, I'm sorry if you did, I arrived a couple minutes late. There's been a tremendous amount of support online in the community. I'm curious, do you think that that support has anything to do with, or would the similar support be there if it was an 18-year-old boy and a 14-year-old girl, or an 18-year-old girl and a 14-year-old girl?
I'm not sure if it would be the same amount of support, because I've seen so many of those that that don't have to take the felony charge. So I've seen those personally. They get a misdemeanor and they all move on with their lives. Or else it never comes to this to begin with under prosecution.
Double standard.
I know that there's other cases out there where there have been, gay or, other relationships, but I don't have any specific ones. I'm sure there are some.
Have you pressured the governor's office at all?
We haven't really done anything to pressure anybody. We didn't even start doing anything until we got the final plea offer last Thursday and told that there was no further negotiations and we were receiving nothing else. We've been extremely quiet from February 16th until last Thursday. And then Kaitlyn and I have been extremely quiet until today. But I needed to be able to put some statement out there to be able to move on with our normal daily lives.
Ms. Graves, State Attorney Colton said that they recently tried a number of cases that were 18-year-old males with younger underage females.
All right, but we're going to go back from this right now.
I mean, what would you guys say to the families of the 18-year-old, 19-year-old males who took a plea deal or anything like that?
Well, that took a plea deal on something like that?
Or went to trial on it?
Well, I think, it depends on what kind of evidence they have. And if it was my 18 or 19-year-old, I would probably take the chance because, depending on what the plea deal is, if it's going to be something that's against you forever, if they're going to give you prison or whatever may come from that, I think I might take my chances. I don't know specifically which case they tried today, or I don't know if those were voluntary relationships or if those are something that were coercive or whether there was alcohol or drugs involved. Those are completely different.
How would you describe what the State Attorney's Office here in Indian River County, the things they put forward to you, the plea deal, how would you describe how they're treating this particular case, in your opinion?
I think they're treating it very strongly, as though she is a predator, as though she has done this in the past, as though they finally caught her. I don't know. I feel like it's extremely strong pressure that they're putting on her, and it just doesn't seem appropriate for someone who's an honor student, a cheerleader, played varsity basketball, never been in trouble. It just seems extremely inappropriate to push the felony charges.
So with that being said, how do you see this moving forward then if they're not willing to meet you halfway?
That's something that her parents and I will be discussing tonight and tomorrow and Friday morning.
What is the deadline on Friday?
The deadline on Friday is however long the judge is there. If we choose to take the plea, we have to actually plea on Friday.
Ma'am, can you comment on the phone call the police apparently taped, recorded with Kaitlyn and this victim?
Well, it's a technique that they're allowed to use. A controlled phone call, and law enforcement is allowed to use taping and basically talk to someone if it's in furtherance of a criminal investigation, and they do not have to tell the person on the other end that it's being taped. So that's what technique they used.
What would you
Does
say?
that technique seem a little much for this particular case?
I don't know. They use it sometimes. Sometimes they don't use it. I know in a recent case that they dropped, they didn't bother to even try to use it and dropped it now for lack of evidence. So I'm not sure why they went for all the evidence in this case.
What would you say on behalf of the family, or what Kaitlyn would say to this 14-year-old that the state calls a victim? What do you say to her?
Well, we feel extremely bad for her that this has been brought out like this, because truly, if she wasn't a victim before in the relationship, she is a victim now, that this has been put out there like this. We don't know what she wants to happen with this case. We haven't been given that information, and we really can't get it until we take depositions, so maybe later. But we're really sorry that this came out like this and that this has all happened.
What are you guys hoping for?
We're hoping that the state attorney will reconsider and look at the lifelong conviction, whether it's a withhold of adjudication that they're asking Kate to accept, and that they'll give her the misdemeanor charges or something different that won't be with her for a lifetime.
Kate, is there anything you would say to the people that have offered so much support to you?
I would just say thank you, and just continue to keep supporting on me and my family. Thank you. That's all I would say.
Do you see life ever being normal again after this? It's kind of difficult for life to be normal at this point, and we hope that life will be normal for her in the future, that she'll be able to go to college and she'll be able to have a career, and sometimes she can put this behind her after an appropriate punishment.
Kate, when you look around and see all the people surrounding you, what kind of goes through your mind?
That I'm just thankful and grateful that all these people are by my side, and that they've been by my side since day one.
Could you describe these last few days?
Closer to Mike.
Definitely overwhelming, to say the least. Scared, I'm scared. Just kind of hopeful for the best.
Scared of.
Did you think it would take off the way it did and that you get so much support across the board?
No, I didn't really actually. Didn't think it would be this big at first, but I'm glad it is. You know, I'd rather people see how it is across the world than just here in Sebastian.
There are a lot of people out there, you know, that have assumptions about you. How would you describe yourself?
I think you should answer that. Yeah. We're not going to answer that question.
Kaitlyn, did you have a statement that you wanted to read or anything?
No, she's not going to make a statement right now. We don't want anything to be used against her in the future. Or to
What is
affect.
she holding? Is that her statement though?
She's holding the first page of my statement. Thank you.
Mom and
But can I
Dad.
ask, what are you scared of? You say you're scared, but what are you scared of?
I'm scared of losing my life, the rest of my life, and not being able to go to college and be around kids and my sisters and my family.
There are colleges that will not let felons do certain things, or child abuse charges where you can't supervise field trips, you know, your own children later, you can't participate in things. So these are certainly things that would affect her future if she chose to take this current plea offer.
And Mom and Dad, how do you describe this outpouring of support and the national media here? And
overwhelming. It's something that I never could have imagined. I will be forever grateful and thankful for everybody who's shown support. It's nothing that I would ever hope for anybody else, and I just thank you from a mother's heart. Thank you for standing up for Kaitlyn and her cause.
Did you sleep until Friday?
I have not slept in probably a week, so I don't know. We'll see. I'll let you know.
Why do you think her story just caught on so much? What do you think that people love about Kate?
I think people just see it for what it is, and I think, you know, these are two high school girls, and, you know, maybe people can relate who have kids or daughters or grandchildren or neighbors. You know, it could be anybody, and I'm just grateful that we have the support.